Ask yourself, like in the last 7 to 14 days, has there been some kind of thing that life threw you a curveball, a surprise, a problem, a challenge, an obstacle, an adversity, and you haven't mentioned it, but it would be valuable if you did. Because here's another thing about leadership. When I have a problem in my life, I don't dwell on it like a problem. I attack it, I sort it, I come up with a game plan, and I don't think much of it. But often my wife and people close in my life that sort of witness what I do and how I do it, and I stay composed and I get it done, they're impressed. They're like, damn, man, you're like a problem sniper, like bat, 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 and just get it done. There's value in this as well. So whether it's a business problem, a personal problem, a logistical problem, a financial problem, marketing problem, I'm sure that you have probably developed an ability to just deal with it, fix it, get it done, move forward, and not even mention it or talk about it. But it's almost coming from a diary of an entrepreneur. If you think about it from that point of view, it's like maybe that's a video that you might want to try, all of you or some of you, where it's like a day in the life of, or a weekly recap, or some kind of like open sharing and being like, yeah, this week was crazy. This happened, this happened, this happened. And people are like, yeah, me too. My life was fucking hard this week as well. But then on the flip side, you're like, however, my business grew, I made this many sales, I made this much money, I was in control of my time, I went to the gym, and, you know, all these positives also, which is what we typically focus on. And then it kind of creates that message where, do you want to have a life where you get to choose even when like there's problems? Because if you keep things simple as you get back into the flow of things, it will reduce the overwhelm, it will reduce the stress, and you just kind of come up with like a simple framework that you just execute the framework until the momentum starts to rebuild. Because all you have to do is execute a very straightforward, simple plan a day, and those days stack upon themselves, and then you get back into momentum. It's not gonna happen from one day to the next. It's just gonna be a series of events, day after day after day, where you're just focusing on winning that day, getting those few handful of things done, and then all of a sudden that will pick things back up and rebuild it quite fast. It's kind of like you're restarting after the storm, right? Like there was a big storm, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then the sun comes out, and you're like, you go out to pick up the mess. Funny story, my backyard, there's a big tree, and it was like my landscaper's like, this tree's dead, and it needs to be taken down before the fall. It's gonna fall over. And I was meaning to, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, we will. Yesterday was Thanksgiving Monday here in Canada, and we went for some brunch. Tree was fine. Went and got brunch. Came back. The tree was now laying down peacefully in my backyard, put to rest, right? RIP tree. And that is the same thing. The night before there was a storm, but yesterday was absolutely beautiful, sunny skies. And this kind of reminds me of that. So your need to just recognize that nothing actually changed about anything aside from the fact that you were ill and you needed some time away. So your skills, your ability, your business, your, Enagic, all of that is exactly the same, but you personally have been drained, tested, beat up, weathered the storm, and it's been intense, right? And so now coming out of that, you're not only trying to get back in the business, but you're trying to get your energy back up. You're trying to get your mindset back up. You're basically depleted, having to like refill everything up. And it's a whole process of like, that's going to take a little bit of time. So it sounds like your nervous system has been seriously tested. So if you want to unmute yourself and share a little bit of kind of like what you're feeling, what you went through, what was your day-to-day like, and where you're at now, and how you're feeling now after coming out the other side.
Yeah, so do you know what? I really debated whether talking about this or not because I really feel in this kind of space, you kind of either have a pocket full of excuses or a pocket full of money. So I'm very much like I never want my child to be my excuse for not doing stuff, but he was so unwell, which then made me so unwell that like so sleep deprived that I was hallucinating, like I was seeing stars. It was just like next level. And I felt like finally coming out of that. And then I went on my first ever business class trip because of the business, because I finally got to that stage in my life and it was incredible and what an experience. And we touched down in Oman and then I was staying with a friend, and she's got three kids. And they were all ill that then passed it on to me and my little one and we were staying at their house and it was just I was solo parenting. My husband stayed at home. I was like, yeah, I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm going to go business class. Like, I'm doing this on my own. I'm so proud of myself. And then he was just like so feverish that we ended up having to call the doctor. And it was just, don't get me wrong, incredible experience. And I wasn't, I don't want to forget that experience that I've had. But my gosh, it was just hard work. And I'm still a breastfeeding parent. I'm still a co-sleeping parent. And it was just relentless. And I never, like I say, I never want him to be my reason as to, or my excuse as to why I'm not doing stuff. But I couldn't even like focus. So I ended up being like, right, I do just have to put things on pause. And then you try to start building yourself back up, right? I've been back for like a week now. Started to build myself back up. I need to get my ads back out, but then I'm questioning my ads. I'm questioning like content. I'm questioning like my lack of like views and interactions on stories. And I'm like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? Like, and it's just, yeah, like I said in my thing, like you can go from having like this incredible momentum to then just having to stop for like a few weeks to then going, oh gosh, actually, like, you know, where is everyone? What is going on? And I, funnily enough, watched one of your, I caught up on one of your coaching calls, Balazs, and you actually, I think it was to Naomi. I think you said you can go from a 0 month to a 50K month in like a heartbeat in this business, and it's so true. But I'm like, how? Like, how does that even
Totally.
happen?
No,
So
I
that's my
definitely,
mind
like I
dump.
said, I feel for you and I know how hard this is. And nothing pulls on your heartstrings harder than your child being unwell, right? Like I know that from personal experience. It is normal to feel the weight of it like 10 times harder and worse than it sometimes actually is because you love your child so much. And so that in and of itself is very draining because, mentally overstimulating, worrying, all that, plus the sleep deprivation, and it's a whole chain reaction. So first of all, I totally feel for where you're at. And my question to you is perspective is very important. So what would it have been like aside from the business class, which is obviously because of your business and your ability to do it that way? But what would this whole entire experience be like in an alternate universe of you being in a job? And try to think back to all the sequence of events, your child getting unwell, and then what would have happened? How would it have been pros and cons, better or different or worse, had you not even had this business at all?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, funnily enough, one of the reasons why I went business class is because I am a breastfeeding parent and I wanted to have that privacy. So, had I been in my normal job or had I, not had this business at all, that wouldn't have even been a consideration, you know? I may not have even gone on the trip as well. That's like another thing in itself. Um, so yeah, just being able to go and fly business class, but also thankfully working in the NHS, you do get sick pay and things like that. So that is kind of like a bit of a buffer, I guess. But yeah, otherwise it's
So
asking for time
here's how you
off.
have to frame it, right? This is very important. The way you just made that sound is for a second there, you're like, well, it kind of would have been better if I was in my job. I know you didn't mean it that way,
No, I
but
didn't mean it that way. I
it
think
kind of
because I do still worry. I think I still have a thing around money. Like this is all very new to me in terms of having like big financial months.
yeah.
So I think I'm still scared. I'm scared of that just not continuing. Whereas when you're in a job, you get paid monthly. Yes, it's probably like a tiny fraction of what we can get in this business. So I think that there's certainly like what I've realized recently, there's certainly some money fears, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. So remember, this scenario is the thought process that goes on in people's heads of the reason why they don't do this business, the reason why they stay in the job. Very, very powerful for you to actually reflect on that.
Mm.
Because when you talk through it, the possibility of 17K, 50K, 100K months is very exciting. But then the mind goes to like, but what if I got sick or ill or unwell and like the sick pay? And that's exactly how they get you. That's exactly how they get you and keep you stuck. And so you have to look at it like, okay, sure, you would have got the sick pay. But what you need to embrace now is this contrast of yes, okay, this is what happened, this is how it happened, but now you're also in a position to share the story from a very relatable place of, I'll be honest, I had these thoughts. I had
Mm.
these thoughts and realizations that money is still kind of a thing that I'm working through my beliefs and how I see things. And on one hand, had I been in my previous NHS job, I would have probably got sick pay and that would have been pretty nice. But as an entrepreneur, I take all the risk, I take all the responsibility, I take all these things on. And when things don't go your way and you feel like momentum is slipping, that's not an easy thing for me or anyone else to go through. So as you kind of talk through this real, transparent, vulnerable, emotional reflection on this period of time, the 3 weeks or whatever it was that you were unwell, it's going to be very hyper relatable to your audience, anybody who watches. They'll be like, yes, 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 like full agreement. And as soon as you get them on the yes train of you're just like me, you have the same thoughts, you have the same feelings, you have the same fears, and you kind of keep that going, then you pull the switch. Then you kind of, bam, opportunity to teach, opportunity to enlighten, paradigm shifts, looking at it from a different point of view. And then once you actually done the reflection truly on paper and like really processed everything that happened, you have to feel it and be like, however, despite all of that, this is still the right choice for me.
Mm.
Potential of the future, the potential of the payoff, the ability for me to have this period where it didn't go my way. I didn't make the money. I didn't have the guaranteed security that my job used to provide, but I have the skill set, I have the mindset, I have the business, I have the platform, whatever, like those kind of details to go and more than make up for this quote unquote lost revenue or lost income. And how I'm actually going to do that is I'm not making it about me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it about you. And I'm going to make it about the mothers who are listening right now, where you've experienced having an unwell child and you've experienced the judgment and the uncomfortable awkwardness of, as an example, breastfeeding on an airplane or on a bus or in public and not having the choice to be private, to be in business, to do things the way you truly want. And I want to give that gift back to you because let me tell you, man, that business class experience was fucking amazing. And yes, we were unwell. Yes, some things didn't go exactly to plan, and that's life, and that's okay. But just having that opportunity, having that taste, having that experience reminded me that this is the life that I deserve. This is the life my kids deserve. This is the life my future has in store for me. And for all of you that feel the same way, whether it's breastfeeding or something different, this is your opportunity to reach out, to watch a simple web class, have a look so that in the future you can have different choices. Something like this. Something along those lines. You see how well this will, especially when you say it in your voice, your personality, and all the things, right? This is just me kind of off the cuff. But when you say it truly from your point of view, this will highly resonate with people. This will get your momentum going. This will get you some people talking because you're taking real life and you're showing a way to dissect the
Mm.
facts from the beliefs, from the contradictions, and you're kind of categorizing them in these different ways where you're actually kind of showing people how to think. You're showing
Yeah.
people how to reflect. And even though we all have a mind, most people do not know how to use it, which is sad. It's like
Yeah.
we just have this thing that's like fucking zero control, just like running our lives, you know? It's like, okay, when we actually sit and very intentionally be like, okay, this is what happened. This is how I feel about it. And that's one side of the story. And that side of the story gets to be true. But there's this other side over here that just takes a little bit more intention, a little bit more. It's a new part of your mind that you're developing. It's still not your normal standard like way to do it. but you start to shift. And that's what we're talking about with your money beliefs, your money consciousness, how you see things. And that's something like a muscle. You have to work it out. But that's that reflection process where you're going to get so much clarity when you do this and decide, like, is it still worth it to you after this experience? Like, is everything that you're doing, all of the building the business and everything that comes along with that, and more importantly, building you after
Mm.
this experience, getting unwell, flying business stuff, coming back to it, it's almost like you have to re-choose this
Yeah.
commitment to the business again. So with
Yeah.
all of that factored in, and you may not know the answer right this second because you might have to reflect and take a little bit of time, but would you still choose this business despite all of that?
100%. 100%. And it's really interesting you say that because I'm so good at hopping on stories, talking on stories, but there is a blocker about me doing like a talking reel. But I opened up and so on Sunday I just had a few things going on, and then I did a talking reel all about how it's not all like freedom time or anything like that. I'm choosing to let my son and his dad go off and have some daddy son time so that I can have a couple of hours on my own doing some work. And I just did a talking reel on that. And then I had just a handful of messages saying, "You're so inspirational, keep going," or like, "What is it you're doing? Can you explain a bit more?" And I've realized I've been trying to hide behind these like almost like curated reels or trying to make them look like these influencers who I am not. But just showing up raw, showing up honest, just putting out something like that. So exactly what you said about get on and do a video like that where you're like, hang on guys, like I want to give this back to you and I want to share this with you. This is what I went through, this is what I've learned, and yeah, this is for you. I think that's really confirmed that that is the route that I want to go down. I want to be that relatable mom. I want to be, you know, yeah, that person that they can come and talk to and I can help.
Yeah, because here's the thing that you got to remember, right? It's like the yin and yang, the two sides of the coin. There's always these equal forces that have to balance each other out. Okay. If it was always sunny, we wouldn't appreciate it. But because it rains sometimes, when the sun comes out, it's wow. It's like magnetic, right? It's so much more special. Same thing with sadness and happiness and all these emotions that balance each other out. And so when you are not sharing certain truths like this, especially in the early days of building your business, you're much more going to be reluctant on sharing the wins. You
Yeah,
will feel weird bragging, flexing, showing, the good sides of stuff. Maybe not at first because, there's this new kind of framework and stuff I've been developing and working on where social media has created a lot of people who are performing freedom, the performance. You might as well be a fucking actor holding a script and being like, cut, take two, and it's not real. So, what makes it real is when that same actor with the script is being filmed from behind the scenes, having a flat tire on their way to the movie set or eating the food in the trailer on their break and having diarrhea while they're filming the movie, which happens, but nobody hears about it. See what I'm saying? I'm not saying
yeah,
talk about your diarrhea. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm saying that there is it's like there's the view that we have, and then there's the view of the view, which is the truth. But we don't have that second camera angle, right? That would be like you having like a literally videographer person just being like, listen, I'm gonna film stuff and I'm gonna put it out even if you don't approve. It's like that whole feeling of, oh shit, like exposed, fully there. And so we don't need to take it to a place of no privacy and all of your life is revealed to the internet. We don't have to take it to that place. What we could consider is the art of reflective sharing. So it's not like you're in it and you're emotionally not even fully there and hormonal and sleep deprived and you can't talk straight and then you go live, right? And just a mess. It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is now you've kind of calmed back down, you're feeling better, normal routine is starting to kind of pick back up again, but it's still fresh enough for you to think about, okay, what was the last 30 days like?
yeah,
And now composed, honest, and real. It sounds like that's what you've done with your video and stuff. So then you come back and have this thing of like, yeah, I didn't share while I was through it. I may have gone a little bit MIA. I was ghosting or whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
There's a good reason for it. I was in the thick of it, man. I was in the thick of parenting. My son was unwell, yada, yada, yada. But afterwards, I've been able to look at it and really see why I chose this path. And that's where the lessons come from and the aha moments and the breakthroughs, right? And so it's still like sharing that it's not all roses all the time and rainbows and butterflies and sunshine and things like this, but it's still very value driven, impactful sharing. But I'm actually very guilty of this. So I could definitely take like my own coaching on this, is that I don't do this very much anymore. I did do it more before because I feel like it's an energetic thing. Like it's hard to explain. I'm like, I feel very limited in like my capacity with my family and kids and stuff. So I'm like, if I do this thing, it's going to turn into like messages and feedback and conversations, and it turns into this whole bigger thing that I don't want it to turn into. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip the sharing. And even like on my social media, I'm really bad on Facebook and stuff where I'll have something I want to share and then I'll get like 150, 200 comments. And I'm like, oh, I want to respond, but like I don't have 2 hours to individually comment back. And that's like my thing. Like I'm guilty of that. But back in the day, I used to share everything and nobody commented, nobody liked it. And it was like better. I was like, I was just like, here you go. And now there's like engagement and people care and there's interest. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I don't have the capacity. So I'm definitely guilty of this, but I'm sharing something that could be insightful, especially early days in the business, motherhood, parenting, juggling all of the things. Is it will make people feel like they can do this even when they're in the thick of it, the chaos, the mess, the overwhelm, all the things, versus what you've been kind of sounds like you've been doing before, where it's sharing the highlight reel and sharing only the positive stuff. So all of you on this call, ask yourself, like in the last 7 to 14 days, has there been some kind of thing that life threw you a curveball, a surprise, a problem, a challenge, an obstacle, an adversity, and you haven't mentioned it, but it would be valuable if you did. Because here's another thing about leadership. When I have a problem in my life, I don't dwell on it like a problem. I attack it, I sort it, I come up with a game plan, and I don't think much of it. But often my wife and people close in my life that sort of witness what I do and how I do it, and I stay composed and I get it done, they're impressed. They're like, damn, man, you're like a problem sniper, like bat, 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 and just get it done. And I'm like, isn't that what everybody does? And they're like, no, man, some people dwell on it. Some people get all depressed about it. Some people kind of like, I don't know, like pretend it's not a problem or like ignore it. I'm like, really? It's not what I do. So there's value in this as well. So whether it's a business problem, a personal problem, a logistical problem, a financial problem, a marketing problem, I'm sure that you have probably developed an ability to just deal with it, fix it, get it done, move forward, and not even mention it or talk about it. But it's almost coming from a diary of an entrepreneur. If you think about it from that point of view, it's like maybe that's a video that you might want to try, all of you or some of you, where it's like a day in the life of, or a weekly recap, or some kind of like open sharing and being like, yeah, this week was crazy. This happened, this happened, this happened. And people are like, yeah, me too. My life was fucking hard this week as well. But then on the flip side, you're like, however, my business grew. I made this many sales. I made this much money. I was in control of my time. I went to the gym. All these positives also, which is what we typically focus on. And then it kind of creates that message where do you want to have a life where you get to choose even when like there's problems? Because just because you have a freedom business or your location freedom or whatever doesn't mean you go through life without challenges or problems. It's still a part of life, right? And often when you have that and share that is what makes people finally go, I'm ready for this transition of elevated problems. Like, I don't know if you have ever heard people say like, oh, money won't solve your problems. And it's like, well, if you actually wrote down all your problems, most of them probably would be solved by money.
Yeah, and I think what's funny about the business is like you start posting little things here and there about a financial win. Maybe you've like at the beginning of your business, if you made like 2 grand, a few grand here and there, people are like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. And then you start sharing I made 10K in a day, or I made 17K in 10 days. You've done all these things. And then they start going, nah, that's not real. That's a scam. Um, so like I like to try and be a little bit more balanced of like what I am telling you is real and I am just a real normal person so that they can relate to you. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever felt the same, but I found that transition really interesting from yeah, making a couple of grand here and there to then oh yeah, 17 and a half grand in 10 days or a 10K day. And people are like, huh? This isn't real.
And
Um,
and so here that's a really good point. I don't know what the best analogy would be, but it reminds me of kind of like those kids shows where it's like I don't know if it's National Geographic or what the show is, but they have these shows where they like explain how things work. Have you guys ever watched that show? It's kind of like a sciencey show, discovery show, where it's like explains how like a light bulb is made or something like that on an assembly line. And at first you're like have no idea and you don't really care, but then it takes you through this step by step process. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, cool. Like it's a fun fact, or it gives you some insight towards like how something is made or manufactured or created or whatever. So when you say like I made 10K in a day, as an example, if you use that same terminology, people go, well, how many hours did you work? And what do you get paid per hour? It's not possible because I get $100. I don't even know what people make per hour anymore. I'm so out of the loop, but let's just call it what is minimum wage now? Like 50 bucks or something an hour? What is it? Like, I don't even know.
isn't it like 13 quid in the UK for minimum wage?
13?
13, is
Like
it?
with a one? Oh my
Oh,
God.
12 yeah, per
What do you
hour
buy
in the
with
UK.
that?
I know, right?
That is, I can't even, I'm sorry. That's just such a small number that is like shocking to me. But anyways, so the point is like imagine
Make that
somebody
per second,
making
yeah.
like let's say they're making this 12 quid or squid or whatever they're making, right? Like if they're making that little and you say you made 10K in a day, your brain will short circuit and like shut down. Like like it just there's it's not going to work, okay? So you have a couple of choices. Number one, you can begin to educate people on a very, very introductory level of like this is how it works when you trade your time for money. This is how it works when you create value, right? And you get paid based on value and services and products sold. It's a different way of operating. And then the business model itself allows you to actually get compensated on other people's efforts, other people's energy, and you also get a commission for that as well. So you kind of break down how exactly did that $10,000 get created? Did you make all of the sales yourself to make 10K in a day? If so, what did you sell? How many products? How much percentage of commission did you receive for selling that product? Now, for you, this is all very like you just know this stuff and it's no longer a big deal to you. But to someone looking from the outside in, I'm trying to figure out how was $10,000 possibly created in a single day? And my because I don't understand at all, it is going to be a scam. So that's important. Or alternatively, you change your audience to someone who is familiar with sales commissions and overrides and leverage business and these types of fundamental aspects of what we do. And to them, they go, okay, cool, but like now show me how. They're not going to jump to that same conclusion of it's a scam. They're going to be excited and they're going to get it and they know that it's legit, but they also don't have the finer mechanics of the specific product or the specific commissions or whatever. But they're further along the awareness of like this is totally doable and it is totally possible. So those are your two choices. Either you educate your current audience to bring them up to speed, or you switch audiences who kind of already understand and get it, right?
Love that.
And that's
Thank you.
exactly what Victoria is talking about, which was a big adjustment she made a while back, where she started to now speak to people that had higher income and they weren't so shocked by those types of numbers, like talking about 50,000 a month, $100,000 a month wasn't such a oh my god shock factor, but it was more so around like how can you do that with having your time, with having your freedom, with being able to travel and do things online. Like it's that gap. It's not so much the financial shock, which is also makes a really big difference to who you speak to and definitely helps with them affording it and credit, like buying the packages and things like this. So you're just selling to a more sophisticated, elevated audience that is a little bit more advanced. So that's another option for you as well. But here's what I'll share with you before we move on to the next question is if you keep things simple as you get back into the flow of things, it will reduce the overwhelm, it will reduce the stress, and you just kind of come up with like a simple framework that you just execute the framework until the momentum starts to rebuild. Because all you have to do is execute a very straightforward, simple plan a day, and those days stack upon themselves, and then you get back into momentum. It's not going to happen from one day to the next. It's just going to be a series of events day after day after day where you're just focusing on winning that day, getting those few handful of things done, and then all of a sudden that will pick things back up and rebuild it quite fast. So here's a suggestion you can try. And it's a very, very simple framework where it's just 3 by 3. So you're going to do 3 things a day, and each of those 3 things you're going to do 3 times. So the first one is 3 wins per day. So you're going to make a list. What 3 wins do you want to create today? Those could be whatever things are important to you, like you posted a story or you posted a reel or you shared something about your mindset or your story. That could be considered a win. And those small wins that are kind of straightforward and simple to do, despite mom life and busyness and whatever, it will start to rewire your belief like, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can make a 50K month. And it will be very, very positive for you. The second piece of the 3 by 3 is just thinking about your 3 daily non-negotiables. So this could be anywhere from a little bit of exercise to get your energy right, like commit to a 15-minute workout, 30-minute workout, going for a walk, something that makes you feel really good. At least 15 minutes of learning something new, podcast, book, training, a way to just kind of work on your mind. And then a business activity, connecting, DMing, posting, one thing minimum that you feel like you've moved the needle forward in your business. So it's a connection thing, a learning thing, and a movement thing. And then the final thing is a minimum of 3 leads generated per day of going through your web class or DMing you or having a conversation or something moving the needle forward with leads specifically. So if you do something like simple like this, where it doesn't feel super overwhelming, you don't think you got to build the whole business in one day, and you just kind of have this 3 by 3 framework and you're like, that's it. I'm just going to do this right now to get back into the swing of things. You can do that when the baby naps. They don't take a long time. They could be spread out throughout the day. And I feel like you will naturally get excited, feel energetic when you speak to people and they share their problems with you and you have a solution that gets you very, very motivated and fulfilled of what you do. And it will make you want to do more of it naturally. So after a week or two of this, you'll probably be like, I can do more, I can post more, I can share more, I can do more calls. But for now, don't feel like you need to do all that because you don't. And it will just kind of start to stack really, really well. Now, in terms of a target, right? I think what you should do is make a 30-day target for yourself starting from now. So you basically have middle of October to the middle of November. What do you want to create in terms of income and sales in the next 30 days? How many sales?
Sorry, I was writing down. I was writing it all down. Okay, so 30-day target. I want to go conservative and just go one, but I want to push myself and say two.
Cool. So aim for 1 sale before the end of this month, minimum. There's this really amazing campaign. I'm not sure if you've heard about it or
Yeah.
looked into it, but that's a really, really strong campaign to promote and to get at least one, quad sale to get someone to 3A. Like that's insane. I've literally done this business for so long, never seen a campaign like this. And what's really interesting about it as well is it goes against Mr. Oshiro's like core philosophy of like the 8-point system. So he's very experimental right now. Like he's like, huh, which is good. It shows that he isn't like completely stuck in his ways, but it's also most likely not going to happen again because I feel like he will go back sort of into his ways after this and be like, nah, when the 8 points better, like the regular ways better. That's what my guess is. So this is a very unique opportunity to take advantage of him being like, let's try something different. But I have a feeling he's gonna go be like, nope, I'm going back to it, never again. So for anybody who's a new partner, don't be afraid to like talk about it a lot, like every day. Don't be afraid of that. It's fine because there's nothing worse than like not talking about it enough. And then like the day after the campaign ends, someone messages you like, you should have told me, I never saw. And you're like, ah, I said it a lot, but like you weren't listening or you weren't watching. So like literally say it every day. Doesn't matter. Even create like a Canva template or a Canva text graphic image with sort of like the details on text and just repost the same exact freaking thing every 24 hours on your stories or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be creative and new, or you can copy and paste the details of the campaign and just put it onto a different image, like a lifestyle image or something like that. But I would definitely be like ringing the alarm more than ever because it's such an insane campaign to skip 8 sales to go straight to 3A. It's pretty wild.